Welcome back to the woods. The AliExpress sale has started and runs for the rest of the week. So here is my top 5 pick of the best deals out there. And I've taken quite some time looking at these. So I'll start out with this Reef Tiger that I actually happen to have in hand. And that's fortunate too because I can recommend this high spec dress watch, particularly because it has the 90-15 movement. And you will see a review of this later in the week, but let's get to it. Our first watch comes in at around $155 US for the sale, and that is a great price for a 90-15 movement, especially because the competition, they've made some odd choices like diamond dials and mineral glass, but it's on the large side for a dress watch, definitely, actually being closer to 41 millimeters in diameter. This model, it dates back to 2015, but by ditching the bracelet and that two-tone finish, we can make it a lot more modern looking, not to mention cheaper. And I opted for silver over black because I think the dial is the real star here. Plus, I wanted the blue hand. And the case is also interesting here because you have this sort of two-part bezel, as well as being slab-sided, kind of like a Tudor, but without sacrificing the thinness that we get from the Miyota movement. It is the summer of San Martin GMT, so I chose the version in a mil-sub case. And this really combines the best of the brand from last year, and it also has significant savings over the new GMT cases. And that's because the design cost has been spread out over many models. The sales spend is just under $225 US, which is a great price in my opinion. In addition, we do have a quality San Martin bracelet and ideal case dimensions of 39 by 46.5 millimeters. And don't overlook the bezel variety either, because I'm partial to the Steel Divers one, but there's also a World Time and 24-hour examples. Otherwise, we get the same dial, sword hands, and bubble sapphire crystal from the classic model. Let's stay on the high end with number 3. The Ipose Skin Diver is well known for its quality finishing, and that likely even beats out the last brand that we talked about. And it's pricey, but it's manageable during the sale at just below $200 US. And this is a funny one, being an homage of Serica, which itself is a fairly new micro brand. And though they must have been successful because Tandorio, another Chinese company, recently released an homage to the homage. But anyways, I'm not a fan of these sterile style dials, particularly this one. And I call it the dong dial for obvious reasons. But I recently saw this version with a vintage Seamaster inspired look, and plus those sword hands that I love so much. So it's unfortunate, but I do think it's fortunate that for my wallet, this watch is a bit too big for my wrist, with a diameter of 40 millimeters and a lug-to-lug of 47.5. But it's really cool looking, especially that fitted Milanese bracelet. Number 4 is my controversial pick. Full disclaimer, I've yet to see any reviews of this square skeleton watch, and nor have I tried out Agelocer, a brand that's in that specialized complicated movement tier. But to start, the current sale price of this fancy brand hovers around $180 US, and what grabbed me is the rectangular movement that's made to fit the case. This is an expensive design proposition for the very best Swiss ateliers, so it's really neat to see it here, and I hope to see simpler, more serviceable examples of high horology outside of the many tourbillons that we get. The size is also intriguing. It lists as 35 millimeters by 37 millimeters, and a square case like this wears much larger on wrist, so these could be ideal dimensions. And last but not least are 2 Grand Seiko homages from the same manufacturer, but actually under different labels. So Rimalti updated their brand, and the watch on the left is the first GS case to get that new spelling, but at the same time they also introduced a new label, Peleus. And I actually like both, so really the question is, can they decide on something for the long term? At the moment, the main difference is Peleus comes in the new 38mm case, but if a 40mm dress watch is more your speed, then that Rimalti has some really uniquely textured dials. The Peleus in blue was my buy for the sale. 198 Canadian actually comes to $145 US. And I reviewed this factory earlier back in the spring, and they really evidently were still working on the branding, but had quality production squared. So both are going to come with an excellent bracelet, especially for the price point. 38 millimeters is going to be limited to these dégradé dials in red, brown, and blue, plus the Peleus brown branding. The larger size Rimaltis, they're going to keep that spelling, but they also have some really quirky dial tones and textures. All right, let's wrap it there, folks. Notice I focused on watches in the mid to high tier of AliExpress, and that's partly to show you guys something new, but also because the regular stuff periodically goes on sale. This channel is completely independent, so please consider hitting that like and subscribe button for more quirky watches, and I will have a review of this guy up soon, hopefully before the sale ends. But until then, thanks for joining, and happy hunting.